Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Unlocking Vertex AI series, where we explore the power of Google's AI platform. Today, we're diving deep into the exciting world of personalized chat experiences, and joining me is Mark Eichten and Aaron Schroeder from TTEC Digital, who are both experts in leveraging AI to build conversational experiences that truly resonate with customers. Mark and Aaron, thank you both for joining me. Let's start with the big picture. So, why is personalization in chat such a game changer? And what is its impact beyond just being more efficient? Mark, do you want to get us started?
Certainly, yeah. So we've come a long way in the system capabilities to the point where we are able today to tie an individual customer to their account and their historical interactions, and that enables us to provide that personalized experience, right? And we want to do it in a way where we're providing a value to the customer and enabling them to have an efficient conversation that is also driven by personalization to enhance their customer experience, right? So we're moving away from the traditional rigid tree structure conversations and providing flexibility for those customers, reducing frustration and essentially dead ends, right? So we're not locking those users into these chat experiences. We're providing them with a means to be, clear, quick, and concise from a conversational standpoint to effectively handle their intent for the initial conversation in the first place, right? As well as letting those users know that we understand who they are and helping them effectively resolve the issue or intent for those conversations in the first place, right? So it's really important that we're coming to the table with that understanding in today's world, right? So that and allowing that end user to understand that we know who they are and we're working with them, not against them, so that they feel like that the system is somewhat centric to them using it, as opposed to us trying to meet a business need, right? So it's about having that balance as we go forward and personalize these conversations, right? So we're working to provide value to both that end customer as well as our clients from a business standpoint, increase the customer satisfaction in these sessions, right? Which is ultimately driving that brand value for them, and as well as the loyalty.
Yeah, and I think Mark said a couple of important things there that I want to maybe double click on. And so when we talk about reducing customer frustration and reducing customer effort, we know that that's highly tied to somebody's likelihood to come back, their propensity to repurchase, their long-term loyalty. And so that's really what we're doing. And then the other piece as well is the consistency of it. You already know that I expressed interest on your product because you're retargeting me with ads when I go to another website, or I'm already enrolled in your loyalty program and you send me personalized rewards or details or offers there. And so why is it when I choose to engage with you, whether it is voice chat or something else, that we have to start over? Hey, can you remind me who you are? Hey, can you describe which product you own? You already know that through other places. And so that's what we hear a lot from our customers now too, is this is table stakes. Personalization is table stakes. There's a certain level of omni-channel consistency that I want to bring. And that looks like having a central repository, a central brain that can feed and fuel that kind of personalization. And Vertex AI is kind of your all-in-one stop for doing that kind of analysis and knowledge of your customers and being able to bring that all together. And so I think that's a really big piece of this as well.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of listeners because we've all had a frustrating chat experience where you're not going to get your answers, your questions answered. So how does conversational AI specifically transform the game and overcome the limitations of a traditional chat system?
Sure. So we can utilize that contextual awareness, right? Like Aaron was saying in Vertex AI, right? So we're able to have more of a natural conversation that is not gated based off of intents driving the conversation. So we're able to pull in both the contextual awareness of the customer, as well as all of the contextual awareness from the client's data sources, right? So if we have knowledge content, if we have standard operating procedures, if we have their website FAQ information, as well as all of the content from a CRM standpoint associated with that user account, we're able to utilize all of that information and drive a conversational experience that is natural, fluid, and dynamic, that allows the user to interact in the way that they want to interact, as opposed to a traditional system that is tree based, where it's rigid, right? You're locked into, I've got menu options 1, 2, and 3, and that's how I flow down, right? You're able to really utilize the power of the virtual agents that we're building today, programmatically, to be able to drive a fluid conversation, right? Pulling in those personalized components as well, specific to that user, and you can jump around as well a lot easier with the development capabilities today versus a few years ago. So that's also helping enable that personalization as well.
Yeah, and I think, again, Mark said something really important in there, which is, you're able to jump around or have more fluid conversations. There's been a lot said, and I think some people are trying to maybe make a provocative statement. We hear people say, well, bots have always been bad, and I reject that premise, but I understand the theme or the driver behind that. People will often say or believe that bots have maybe been more challenging than we like, because often they were they required, to Mark's point, more rigid flows and pre-planned, and so you were really ensuring that customers were having the conversation that you wanted to have. And now we're really at a time and in a space where you can enable customers to have the conversation they want to have, and you're able to do that with them on their level. So you can adapt either the voice, the tone, other things like that, more on the fly. And so that's what I'd say the real difference is now. It's when we talk about a personalized conversation, it is also just as much about the conversation your customers want to have with you, and not hey, we designed a great conversation and flow before, but it was the conversation that we had to have with you. So that's a big component of this as well, is it feels more human like, more natural in what you're doing, in that conversation, in that chat experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We're certainly at a point where we're trying to have our clients look more holistically at how the solution it comes into play in their overall CX strategy, and it's really a paradigm shift from a design standpoint in getting them to understand the capabilities of the system, and designing more from a conversational flow standpoint that is customer facing, allowing for that personalization, as opposed to being blocked by a business centric approach that is looking to drive specific KPIs in deflecting users that may not be in their best interest from a self-service and a CX standpoint.
So it's really about creating genuine engagements rather than simply pushing them through predefined paths for them.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so if we shift gears a little bit and talk about kind of like a key feature we haven't touched on yet. We understand the why behind personalization now, but how do we know, or how does an organization know if they're getting personalization right or if they're just missing the mark on it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Getting personalization right is going to mean something different for each company. So it does have to start with that. Well, what are we trying to get out of this? But then from there, a lot of times what we'll see is you want visibility into it. Visibility provides insights. Insights lead to action, and that's where we get all of this satisfaction, loyalty, all of that from. So when we're tracking the kind of engagement we're getting, are you is there more time spent in chat? That could be good or bad, again, depending on the objective you're trying to have. Are you looking for simpler, more concise chat experiences, or are you looking for people to be able to really solve more complex issues that maybe take longer, but it's a great indicator. There's also maybe you're looking for conversion rates. Containment could also be a big piece of this. User feedback is another element, I would say. Are you closing that loop to get directly from them? Yes, this was a good experience and I got exactly what I needed out of it, or no, it wasn't. We have a customer today that we're really working with on an FCR, first contact resolution metric. And doing something like that requires a full customer life cycle and whole set of multi-channel interactions to make sure you've got it right. Because more people engaging with your chat doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it right. Fewer people engaging with it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it wrong. And so there's nuance in that, in that. What are you really trying to measure in this? Is it done right because there are simply more calls to an API that provides details for the personalization? Presence doesn't necessarily mean success. Are people giving up on the chat and calling in? To have that level of multi-channel visibility helps you understand which is working well. Are people that were historically more voice oriented starting to adopt chat more? Because that's a great indicator as well. So really there's a pretty big suite of metrics and set of visibility you want to establish to be able to do this. And then from there, you can start even getting a little more complex, things like A/B testing, to be able to make minor changes to different parts of an experience and see which then affects those metrics and levers you've identified as important, to be able to say, yes, this worked well and this provided the kind of change we wanted to see. So visibility and monitoring is the foundational answer to how do we know we're getting it right. But then from there, it's really making sure you've got a North Star you're aiming for, and keeping that visibility on those specific sets of metrics, and keeping an open mind on it as well, because there may be others that you haven't considered as you get down the line.
That speaks to something that keeps coming up in each episode of this series too, is that a lot of this is custom or unique to an organization, and it's super critical for organizations to define what is important to them before they in order to have an AI strategy and a chat strategy. So that's really good insight. When it comes to common pitfalls, what are some things that companies should try to avoid when using AI for a personalized chat experience?
Yeah, so some of the common pitfalls that you want to avoid in this is the same with, maybe I'll say, any generative AI application, any AI application, any data driven application, which is security, privacy, ethics. Are you making sure that in certain situations authentication comes first? Because there's this constant balance between authentication and privacy. Like, you want to personalize, but I don't want somebody that happens to be on my computer to get my medical information, right? So that's maybe an extreme example, but it really stands that to illustrate the point that there is a balance to be struck, and ensuring that each application that is interacting with any data source, especially a conversational one, is getting what is necessary, but not necessarily so much as to cause issues. So I would say that's a major, I don't know that pitfall is maybe the right word, but that's a consideration that we guide our customers through in this is, what is necessary, what is secure, what's private, what makes sense for this, and again, back to knowing that you're doing it right. You may have to revisit this later and say, hey, we've done a lot of really good things here, and we're creating some great change and outcomes, but we don't need this data to feed in anymore, or maybe we need to add in another use case, but that's something that is going to require some thoughtful integration with another system to make happen. And so that's really, I would say, the main theme here is personalization is always balanced with a security first mindset.
Yeah, and I'll add in on the security and kind of looking through everything, right? You want to ensure a lot of the industries we deal with have compliance items that we have to adhere to, right? Whether it's healthcare and HIPAA, or financial and PII. I think Aaron hit on it a little bit, but it's also from a compliance standpoint, right? We don't want to be providing information that is going to get us or our customers in trouble, right? So we want to ensure that we're also looking at it from a compliance standpoint. And then the other item I would add from a pitfall standpoint really kind of calls back to our how are we getting it right? It's having that foundational understanding of what data should we be tracking, and metrics we should be utilizing to understand is this effective or not. And I see a lot of our customers that we have to ensure we're working with them to gain and provide that insight, and we help them really understand we have these metrics, right? Are we meeting what we want to from a personalization standpoint or not, and how do we adjust, right? So it's really taking that additional step after the deployment to say, are we being successful or not, and adjust in order so that we are successful, right? So taking that additional step.
So as we wrap up this conversation, for listeners who are just starting on their AI journey, what are some practical steps that they can take to begin experimenting with personalized chat in their environments?
Yeah, so maybe this goes back to your prior question on pitfalls, but start is maybe the first advice, piece of advice we have here. And so what does it look like to start? A lot of times it can be simple. Maybe it doesn't even require a complex integration or something that's far reaching. Change some of the questions you ask your customers in your current flows from multiple choice to open-ended. Really start to take advantage of the breadth and some of the capabilities that generative AI solutions like Vertex AI can offer in that space. And so that's a really simple, really easy, really low-hanging fruit for you is start to go that route and see how it performs. Test it out yourself. Get a sense for that. Because again, to the notion of going from the conversation that you want to have with your customers to the conversations they want to have with you, I think that's a huge step. Now, The next piece from there is to just begin with maybe a CRM integration, or we'd mentioned user feedback earlier as well. Start to maybe incrementally gather more information and just start to store that a little bit, and work that way. But iteration is the answer. If I get a one-word answer to this, it's iteration, I would say. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I would add, just like you said, having that underlying data accessible and doing that integration into the CRM are really going to be some of those initial steps in order to drive the personalization capabilities. And I like what Aaron said, just about starting small. You don't need to bite off the entire rebuild of an application right on day one, right? It's really just taking that specific use case, having that integration is going to be key, as well as the access to all that underlying data that's going to allow and enable those conversational personalization experiences.
Well, thank you, Mark and Aaron. This has been incredibly informative conversation, and thank you for sharing your expertise and unlocking the power of personalized chat experiences with Google Cloud's Vertex AI. Appreciate your time today. And for those of you who are looking for more information, we always have lots and lots of content and resources on TTEC Digital website, whether it's blogs or webinars or white papers, however you like to consume your content, we have something for you. And we'd love to help answer any questions that you might have about your journey in AI and personalizing the experience for your customers. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.